So if you happen to find that man of your dreams and the man that you want a long-term commitment with, what do you bring to the table to be able to attract and keep him? So that's my question. And I'm gonna start with you, Gentry. What is your question? What is your response to that question?
Uh, I feel like this is gonna be like an interview, like like I bring like let me list all the things I'm great at. I can't cook, so let's take that off. No, so I bring a I think women with kids in general, um, they have this different strength when they're going into dating again. Like they are resilient, and it's like they have this baggage in a way. I mean, like we all have baggage, but to have like these kids, and if a woman that's like a good, strong mom and independent in her own like right, like I don't need a man. I'm independent and can take care of myself. Then it's not like I get into a relationship and I dump all that on them. Like I get into a relationship and it's just like, I'm freaking strong. Okay. Like I can carry all this shit and you're going to be my partner in this. So I think something I bring is just that partnership. It's not like I need you. It's I want us to build together. I want us to have synergy together. And I mean, I have my quirky personality and my things that I find funny and all that stuff. And that's all great when you're trying to like find that, narrow it down to that right person. But I think like coming into a relationship, I just bring like my independence and yeah.
Okay. All right. No worries. All right. So, your independence. Anything else you want to add on to that?
I'm funny.
Funny. Okay. All right. Funny and independence. All right. All right. All right. Okay. We'll move it along. We'll move it along, fellas. If you're watching this right now, let me know what your thoughts about funny and independent women. All right. So, Madiha, what's your? I want to ask you. You happen to meet the man of your dreams. You want to be in a long term commitment with him. What do you bring to the table for him to attract and keep him?
So I think that's like similar to what Gentry said. I think that, even for me, like I've never been married or have kids or anything like that. But, one thing that I do have is my career and my education. So, I think I know that I'm independent and I'm fully capable of taking care of myself. And at the same time, I'm also very self-aware of who I am and, what qualities I have. So, when we're looking for a partner, I always say I'm not looking for somebody to complete me, right? I am a whole person, and I would hope that my partner would be a whole person, and together we would come together and create something more beautiful. Working in the profession that I do, a big part of my job is being a marriage counselor, being a therapist. I do a lot of premarital counseling, and I especially work with a lot of domestic violence. Like that's my niche. And one thing that I see a lot is, when men and women are looking for somebody to complete them, like I feel like there's a void in me and I need you to fill that void. And I always remind people that, at the end of the day, you are a whole person. And if you're looking for another person to complete that, then that's not okay. People are unstable. People are not reliable. They're not, one day they're here, one day they're not. So the only person that you can really depend on and rely on is yourself. So before you tie yourself to another person, you need to make sure that you are a whole person.
All right.
So that's something that I look for.
All right, no worries. No, I love what you shared about. That's something I have seen in the world where people say, whenever I hear the word somebody says, "I need somebody to complete me," the first thing that registers in my mind is like that person hasn't gone through the healing. They've went through a bad experience, and the thing is for me is I always tell people like your happiness is your sole responsibility, and if you expect somebody to make you happy, all your happiness is dependent on somebody else, then you're susceptible for getting used or manipulated by people. So that's why you should be happy with yourself, content with yourself, and then you attract somebody that's already complete, and you find you're already complete as well, and you be able to find happiness with each other. All
And I
right.
agree. Like, I agree. I think it's a big part of that, and also managing your expectations. Like, we don't live in some Disney movie, right? It's not like happily ever after. Relationships take work and people take work. So, it's often like, oh, I love him. Well, he had all of these qualities before. Like, he didn't magically change after, but you have these unrealistic expectations, and learning to manage those. It's very important.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Thank you for sharing. All right, so career, education, and you're not looking for somebody to complete you. You want a whole man. You want a whole man, not half a, not 3/4 of a man. You want a whole man, fellas, a whole man. All right. So, and anything else you want to add on to that? Anything else?
No.
All right. Cool. All right. So all the full complete men out there, you know what to do. All right. All right. So and then last but not least, I'm gonna ask Nia. Nia, all the way from New Zealand. Let me, yeah. What's your response to that question? If you finally find a man, you want to go into long-term commitment. Oh, if you're looking for him, what do you bring to the table?
I think a home. I bring a home to a table. I could be anywhere and I could turn anything into a home. So
Mhm.
if I was to bring anything to a table, it'd be a home. And I think love and effort. I put effort in everything that I love to do and people that I love. So I think that's it. And I'm highly fertile. So that's the cherry on.
You just say highly?
Yeah.
Oh, no. All right. All right. So you bring a home. You bring a home. So to that man. He highly fertile, and yeah, you're ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't need people to tell me what to do. So I'm pretty like onto it. Like I don't wait for, like, for example, like, some women they wait on their partner to get stuff done, or they wait on, they need like a yes from someone in order to move forward. But see, with me, I know what I want and I know what needs to be done, and I'm a go getter.
Okay, yeah, go get her. All right, for sure. I want to ask you. So you said you don't need somebody to tell me what to do. Do you like a man that doesn't tell you what to do, or do you like a man that like is confident enough to be able to like be a leader and kind of lead you, but and be able to like
Yeah,
tell him, hey, this is what I want, and this is what I want from you. Is it?
yeah. There's a difference between, if my partner was to lead and then my partner was to tell me what to do. This is like, for
Yeah.
me, this is different. If he could lead, that is totally fine to me. I love that and I find that attractive. If he was to tell me what to do, that's a red flag and that's a no.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you can't just tell you what to do, but you have to be able to lead by example in order for him to do
Yeah.
that, right? All right. Okay. All right. So yeah, that was my answer, ladies. That was my question, ladies. I do want to respond to a couple of you guys of things you just said, just for open conversation. But I want to give you guys anything you guys want to respond to each other based on what you guys said, or anything you want to add on to it. Well, what somebody else said about the answer, their response to the question, to the topic.
I love what Nia said about wanting somebody to still be the leader, or like lead you, because I think sometimes like strong, independent women, we take over this like masculine role so much. Like I feel like I get stuck in it because I have to be, like, as a single mom, I have to be very masculine to like manage the whole household. So I do want somebody that can come in that I can trust to be in that role, and I can be like slip back into that more feminine role. But that takes a lot of trust, and like that they'll do it, and that they'll be a leader, and that they'll take that role. But I like that. I really like that you said that.
Okay, no worries. Yeah. All right. So yeah, ladies, I was just writing down a lot of the things you guys said, and I just have some thoughts I just want to share with you guys. I'm just interested to hear what your thoughts about the things I want to ask. Because we are talking about modern dating, right? Modern dating, sexual relationships, what's going on in the modern day world. One of the reasons why I started this podcast was to have open discussion to figure out, as you guys know, if you look at the numbers statistically in America, marriage sucks. So long-term relationships, marriage is statistically failing in America. So that's one of the reasons why we have this open podcast, and we just have conversation between men and women and figure out like why is it that way. So I've I listened to a lot of things you guys said and what you guys brought to the table, and I've done this podcast for a very long time, and one thing I have noticed, because I've asked women multiple times, like, what do they bring to the table? And one thing I've noticed, also observed in the dating culture in America, especially with women, modern women living in America, is a lot of times their attributes or traits they advertise to be able to attract men are not the things that necessarily men are looking for and attracted to. And one of the biggest ones I have noticed, I think Gentry brought it up, is the strong, independent women, right? So, and this is something, because I'm a big believer in masculinity and femininity, right? That derives from our biology, and I do believe that, that type of men that most women want, which is strong, confident, independent, leader, right? Ambitious, right? Has his life together. He's complete, like Madi has said, complete, not half a man, not quarter. He's a complete man. Because of our biology and the intersexual dynamic between men and women, masculine men look for a certain type of traits in a woman. And one thing as a masculine man is like we're not looking for a strong, independent woman, because if you're a strong masculine man, you're like, that's what you bring to the table. So if I'm a strong, ambitious, independent man, if I'm bringing that to the table, I'm not necessarily gonna look that from my partner. And that's one of the things I always say is, men who are very strong, independent, ambitious, they're looking for feminine women, submissive women, and women who are more nurturing and caring. And a lot of times I see in today's dating culture is, that's the movement, right? Strong, independent women. And a lot of these women struggle to attract good quality men. And then, because I always tell women is, a man that our love language is provide and protect. As a man, I have this need within me, this eternal intrinsic need that I want to protect. If I really love you, I want to provide and protect you. So I want to take over that role, right? I don't need you to be the provider, protector, the strong woman. I'm going to be that for you, because that's how men show their love and commitment. So a lot of times when women say, I'm strong, independent, I don't need a man, it doesn't make you sexually attracted to men. And because that's not what we're looking for you to bring to the table, for us to even come to the table. What are your thoughts about that? Because that's something I see in America. I do see in the dating culture today. And like I said, there's nothing wrong being strong, independent, ladies. Like, it's something, like I said, I respect strong, independent women. What I'm saying is, it doesn't make you sexually attractive, because that's what dating is. We attracted by the things that make you sexually attracted to a man or a woman, and that's what brings them to come to you, right?
I'd like to show you my DMs, maybe.
Oh yeah. So
because I would just disagree.
No, so my response to that, Gentry, is because women will say that, look at my DMs, but I think you're confusing sexual attraction, like, sex attention, from long-term attention. Yeah. So you have a lot of men in your DMs that want to have sex with you, but how many are willing to take the responsibility to wife you up and take over and be committed to you long-term and marry you?
Oh, I have lots of marriage proposals.
Okay. You ever
take them up on it? No, I've never.
Okay. All right.
I would have to disagree with you as well. I think that men think they want, and I'm going to use the broad terms here, weak, submissive women, until they have a weak, submissive woman who ends up being too high maintenance for them. And then they don't end up wanting them. Why can't she do this on her own? Why do I have to do everything? Why do I have to do that? So I think that men think that they want something until they end up making those long-term commitments. And then those same reasons why they were attracted to that person often become their downfall. From what I've seen again, and like I said, every lock has a different key. And, you're right. Maybe somebody isn't attracted to a strong, independent woman, but then that's how I know that that's not the man for me. And for me, I believe that if he is a true man, and if he is a provider and, a caretaker, then he will be willing to handle me for who I am. It's not me being strong and independent. I can be submissive when I need to be. But unfortunately, the way society is, the way, women are treated in this world, I have to stand up for myself. I have to be the one that stands up for myself to provide, because I've been taught that I can't trust a man. I've
Yeah.
been taught that I can't trust a man to provide for me, because one day he could leave me. One day something could happen. He could find someone younger, prettier, smarter, and decide I don't want this anymore and leave. I've learned that, when men find women to be too strong and independent, that's often speaking to their insecurities as a man. You
Hmm.
think that because I am educated, because I can earn my own money, that I don't have a need for you. Therefore, it kind of affects you and your mentality as to being a man and your ego. And that's fine. You can keep your ego in check there. But if I'm looking for a person, then I'm looking for a companion. I'm not looking for a provider. I'm not looking for a nurturer. I'm not looking for somebody to take care of me, which would be nice, but that's not my main priority. What I am looking for is somebody who will be a companion, someone who will be a friend, someone who will be my ride or die. If I need a provider, I can provide for myself. If I need a caretaker, I am taking care of myself, right? What I want is a companion, a partner. And that's where I feel that when men say, oh, I don't want a strong, independent woman because she is too open, or she has too many opinions, then that speaks to me a lot more about their insecurities and their ego.
Okay. So I do. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, by the way, because I think it's a great discussion. I do want to ask you. So you said that, you know, if men who don't want strong, independent women, they say that that's a part of the insecurity. Okay. All right.
I believe so.
All right. You don't believe that men and women just have different things what we look for when it comes to relationships sexually?
Yeah,
Repeat that.
but I think that you're gonna find the same way I'm attracted to a different type of man. Like there's certain guys that I look at and I'm like, ew, no, like the way that they present themselves, I would never want to be in a relationship with them. And there's guys that I look at and I think differently. And I think everyone's gonna see that differently. So I don't think you can generalize that all guys are overwhelmed by, or that they're annoyed by the independent woman. I think
I'm not. Yeah.
history, you know what I mean?
I'm not saying all. I'm just saying majority. I'm just generalizing, right? In general,
Right.
right? Because
But even generalizing, when you look at dating trends in this modern era, there's a there this idea of man provide and be, the classic alpha male, and woman being the submissive beta female. I don't think that applies to current trends. I don't think that applies to the way the dating era and dating is changing, y'all. Like, it's not the same that it was. We have these hookup apps, we have Hinge, Bumble, Tinder, we have all of these types of apps. And then, people are not no longer meeting each other at bars or stuff like that. The dating scene itself has completely changed. And I think, when we look at, LGBTQ and sexuality, and how people are more open about their sexuality, and, and when you look at anything when it comes to these types of things, I don't think we can put this broad stroke of saying, men don't like independent women or are threatened by independent women. I think it really just depends on person to person, on what their type is, what they're looking for, and age. Where are you in your life? Gentry over here as and Nia as you know single mothers might be looking for something different than me as a childless person is looking for. Your priorities, where you are in life, your experiences, they all shape you into what you're looking
yeah.
for in that partner. So again, I don't think it's fair to, like Gentry's saying, is to paint this with this one broad brushstroke and say that majority of men are like this.
I do think though that women are so afraid of the the getting left, the whatever, that we've kind of become a little bit closed off to being more of that submissive, being more of that feminine, being more of that, or like just sticking in the masculine energy maybe a little bit too much. I know I struggle with that, like where because I don't need someone, I start to not even want them. And it's like I have to like let myself get back into that feminine thing, because we've learned that we have to take care of ourselves because we have been let down. Like
I think that's the defense mechanism. Like what you're saying is a defense mechanism, right? So like you said, you've learned, it's a learned trait based on what you've gone through, that I can't be feminine because someone is going to take advantage of that,
All
right?
right.
So yeah.
But so I have a couple of things just to respond to a lot of things that you said. Madiha, the one when you said, like, most men don't want strong independent women, right? So, oh no, I'm sorry. You said the times are changing, right? The culture is changing in America. The times are changing in America. But this is the thing, of course, things are changing. Society is changing. Everything's changing in America. But the thing is, the relationships aren't working. So if we're doing things that's never done, like you said, if you're doing things outside of the normal of what you may consider traditional, right? Like our great grandparents signed, and you're saying that that's the old way to do it. This is the new way. This is the new and better way to do it. Okay, but how come it's not working? Because it clearly worked in our grandparents' time, right? It worked. The relationships, they stayed together. Man and woman stayed. Now, later, things have changed. But if you're saying it's better, then how come we're still failing in relationships?
I'm not saying that it's better or worse. I'm just saying that it's different. And when we look at the relationships during our grandparents' ages and the reasons why they stuck together, it was because divorce was such a taboo topic at that time. Women were not treated as human beings, but rather as property. So when you were married off, you were married off and owned by that man. That's the first thing. The second thing is that often women would stay with their husbands because they weren't sent to school, they didn't have education, they didn't have means of money. So they really relied solely on that man for everything that they needed. If they were to leave that man, then they would be viewed as a lower person in society. So historically, yes, when marriages lasted longer, but the quality of that marriage, the quality of the relationship, I would argue was not the healthiest. We see that. Why? We see rise in domestic violence. We see generational trauma that's carried on from our grandparents to our parents to us, right? We see all of these issues. So yeah, you're right. We did stay married longer, but was that marriage worth being in, right? The other thing I would argue is that people these days, and I don't think it's just in dating, I think it's interacting with people on in any level, interacting people with people at work, interacting with people in grocery stores, interfamilial communication. I think we've lost the art of communicating and being able to talk to each other. And I think a big part of that is technology. When we are talking to people through these dating apps, and stuff like that, the filter is gone. Men have become way more vulgar. They will talk to you in ways that they would never talk to you, or make comments to you in ways that they would never make comments to you if they were to do that in person. So I think that relationships are not succeeding because we all have this ideal of what a relationship should be, right? We have this ideal, these expectations of what my relationship should be, and we think that it's easy, but it's not. Marriage takes work, relationships take work, any sort of commitment takes work, and if you're not willing to do the work, then it's easy to say, hey, you know what, this person is not meeting my standards, he doesn't get me, I'm leaving, right? But actually to sit there, try and communicate, to try to work through those problems, that's a little bit harder. It may take some time, but you might achieve it. But if we're not willing to work and say, hey, you know what, there's a next best thing out there, that, people don't want to
Yeah.
commit, then I think another big issue is social media. We have these unrealistic ideals of what a relationship looks like, what an ideal woman and man should look like, right? We were joking about, what we look like right now versus our Instagram post, like filters, Photoshop, all of these things, right? They all play a role, and we have these unrealistic expectations of what a man and a woman should look like. And I think that also plays a big role, in terms of sexuality. Porn is poisoning a lot of these marriages because we expect sex to be a certain way. And, when it's not like that, when it's not reaching our expectations, it's poisoning people's sexual drive, it's poisoning people's sexual relationships. So I really do think that a lot of the relational issues that we're seeing today are due to communication and unrealistic expectations.
No, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I want to say the one thing you did mention, like, all those things you mentioned about women, about the things that happened to them back in the day, grandparents time. I'm not gonna deny that happened, because relationships aren't perfect, right? It's relationships is it's things we have to work on. But what I would say is, okay, that's a risk of going into a relationship with somebody. There's a risk of from the man, and also there's a risk for the woman, right? But what I'm saying is, like, oh, if you look at the couples, right, that were happy, that none of those things that you just mentioned didn't happen, right? That they were happy, they loved their man, the man loved her. If you look at those successful and happy relationships, is the dynamic of that relationship was always traditional. The man was a provider protector, and the woman was her natural submissive role in those relationships that did work out long term. And there was no trauma, there was no abuse, there was no eternal conflicts that we didn't see behind closed doors. That dynamic was always the same. Like, you never saw those those successful relationships where the man was independent and strong, and the man was submissive to her.
But
So
there,
if you
but
so
there was respect. There
what'd
was
you say?
respect in those. I said there was respect. There was respect between the partners, right? And it wasn't one was submissive, one was alpha. We had our roles. I knew that my husband's role was to provide and maintain the household. My husband, or provide and earn money or whatever, put a roof over our head. My role was to raise the children and provide a household. But there was respect for each other's roles. There was an understanding that one is not better than the other, but rather one needs the other in order to have a successful home. That's why those marriages were successful. There was
Well,
respect and an understanding.
so you just said there was a respect for the roles, right? So if like what I'm saying is, if men are saying, hey, we prefer feminine submissive women, and you said that those work because women respected that, but then I know you mentioned that you disagreed with what I said of men wanting to be the provider protector.
Men respected the women, and
Yeah,
the women. It's because right now you see this a lot. Like when we talk about this traditional marriage that you're talking about, and I'm not
yeah,
knocking it.
no,
It
yeah,
works for them to make it work, right? Obviously, there are still marriages these days where one person is a sole provider and one person is a caretaker, and they work. But why do they work? Because, one thing is that often when men are the sole providers, they feel that they can control the women because they're earning the money, right? The other thing is that they feel that the women sit at home all day and do nothing, right? So there is no respect, is what I'm trying to say. But
yeah.
if you are able to acknowledge that it's not one role is better than the other, but rather we are doing our part to maintain the household, then there is that respect, there is that understanding, there is that saying that this is his role, this is my role, and this is how we come together. It's not domineering, submissive. It's roles.
Well, yeah,
And
but
that
that's what I'm saying is, I don't think it's based on, like, the men being provider protected means that they want to dominate or they want to control the woman. It's basic. I mean, if you're talking about roles, like, I think it's basic biology, right? Because as women, you guys get pregnant, so that's why men have to be biologically. That's why their role is always to provide a protector. Because when you have children and you build a family, right, the woman is physically vulnerable. She physically cannot go out and work when she is in her pregnancy. The man doesn't get pregnant, so he has to provide or protect. That's why the man has to provide or protect. Because if you build a family, depending on how many kids you have, you have to raise the kids as a woman because you have kids. Because you guys get pregnant, the man can't. That's why the man has to provide and protect, and that's why, like I said, it's not because we want to provide and protect, be the sole provider protector because we want to control you. It's just that's how it works when you have children. That if you be pregnant, and then you need your man to go out there and take care of and handle business.